Welcome to the Know, I'm Mica.
I'm Ben.
Get ready, Middle-earth fans, the delays are finally over and Shadow of War is almost here. The sequel to 2014's well-received Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor is set to be released next Tuesday for PC, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One.
The action RPG from Monolith Productions continues the story of Shadow of Mordor, which is set between the events of The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. You continue the story of the ranger Talion, who shares his body with the spirit of the elf lord Celebrimbor as they amass an army to fight against Sauron.
Shadow of War was originally scheduled to release in August, but you might remember from earlier this year, Warner Bros. Interactive said the game would be delayed for 2 months to make sure the game met the highest quality experience for players. So thanks, Warner Bros.
Cool. And we're starting to see reviews come in, so let's ask the all-important question, is it good?
Well, so far the answer appears to be yes. Shadow of War currently has an 86 score on Metacritic and a slightly lower 84 on OpenCritic, both of which indicate pretty positive reviews from critics.
Yeah, for a sequel, I'll take it. Reviewers seem to agree that the game features a big open world with lots to do, fun large-scale combat, and a return of the much-loved Nemesis System. As for gameplay, it's kind of Assassin's Creed meets Lord of the Rings, along with large-scale fortress assaults, and the ability to gain followers who will do all of your bidding.
As for the game's world, most reviewers were impressed by its massive size. The game is so big that Games Radar, which gave it a 4.5 out of 5, said that the full map doesn't even unlock until about 30 to 40 hours of gameplay.
There are 5 regions in all, ranging from a fiery hellscape to lush green lands. As Game Informer noted in its 9.5 out of 10 review, twisting caverns, deep pits, and towering mountains lend a needed geometry that Shadow of Mordor lacked, while the ruined walls and outposts are perfect sites for stealth hunts and throwdown clashes.
As the player, your main objective is to raise an army against Mordor by recruiting orc leaders and having them fight for you in epic siege battles. You'll also be joined by an elven assassin named Eltariel and the mystical wood spirit Kdin.
GameSpot gave it a 7 out of 10 and said that Shadow of War's most memorable moments revolve around its large-scale siege battles, where you take over orc-controlled fortresses using your own loyal followers.
And lots of reviewers fell in love with their orc companions, noting that in many cases they're more entertaining and colorful than the game's humans cast. So GameSpot added, one especially colorful character I met was an orc prophet who yelled at me about some serpent cult he was a part of, and I ended up killing him. But it left a lot of questions in my mind about how orc religions work.
As for combat, US Gamer says the game seems to give Talion even more power than in its original, saying that he runs fast, jumps high, swings a mean sword, and shoots some deadly spirit arrows. Unlocking abilities let you do additional cool things like stealth kill 2 enemies in a row, or poison orcs and make them attack each other.
US Gamer wrote in its 4 out of 5 review, now you can vault up towers and other structures like the Hulk. You could leap across wide expanses. Now you can double jump if you upgrade it. Riding a grog is old hat. Now you can ride drakes.
God is a Geek gave Shadow of War a perfect 10 out of 10, saying, the depth of combat is insane, and you're constantly finding new ways to approach the enemy, and moving around has never felt as free or as efficient.
Of course, Shadow of War also brings back the much-loved Nemesis system of its predecessor. Like in Shadow of Mordor, you get your own randomly generated rivals in Sauron's army. They'll remember you and hold grudges, but Polygon notes that this time, the system has expanded to include more varieties of orcs.
Even more enemies to hate your guts. Digital Chumps gave the game an 8.5 out of 10 and said the Nemesis system is the coolest gameplay mechanic I have ever seen in a game.
As for the game's drawbacks, which there are bound to be, reviewers pointed to 2 weak spots: its story and, as we know, its loot boxes.
Everybody loves loot boxes. The game's story takes place after the events of Shadow of Mordor, and the Celebrimbor and Talion have forged a new ring of power to fight Sauron, which, as more than one reviewer noted, is not the most canonical thing.
Did I miss that chapter? I feel like that's a little bit off from what I've read. Some complained that, like Shadow of Mordor, the new game plays it fast and loose when it comes to the overall canon of Middle-earth. Polygon gave the game a 7.5 out of 10 and said, Shadow of War seeks to bridge the gap between The Hobbit and the proper Lord of the Rings trilogy, yet it manages to be more extreme in the liberties it takes with the established lore of the series.
US Gamer said, if you're a hardcore veteran fan of Middle-earth, I don't know if this is for you. Shadow of Mordor bent the lore of Middle-earth, and Shadow of War has stretched that lore out on a rack and broken it.
I mean, a whole new ring of power? Yeah, seems like it's pretty damn broken. Games Radar said the game was all over the place in terms of its tone, quickly switching from deadly serious to straight-up comedic moments. Its reviewer said, on the one hand, Talion and Celebrimbor have all the sparkle of a graveyard, a dour tone that fits the books perfectly, but there are moments with some of your orc followers played so much for comedy, it's hard not to hear canned laughter in your mind.
Ooh. And then there's the issue of loot boxes.
Yeah.
A few months ago, Monolith unveiled its market system for microtransactions in the game. The market is a way for players to buy loot boxes, experience boosts, and other goodies through the in-game currency called gold. and gold can either be earned in-game or bought with real-life cash.
As you can imagine, players didn't like this, and some reviewers didn't either, saying the loot boxes feel shoehorned into the game, which is never really a good thing.
GamesRadar said that for a game that doesn't have a huge online component, the loot boxes feel like someone somewhere was forced to find a way to monetize the game, pressing the mold of more multiplayer-focused ideas against Middle-earth until it left a mark rather than filled the container.
Yikes. Some reviewers also had issues with the final act of the game, which they said was really dragged out and drained away all momentum.
GameSpot wrote, "What should be an exciting climax instead descends into a tedious slog for a cutscene that doesn't quite feel worth the time and effort. In the game's actual final act, you cycle through the 4 fortresses you explored previously for a total of 20 more defending siege battles." At
the end of the day, while reviewers said that Shadow of War has its problems, most agreed that it's an epic RPG with lots to do and some memorable moments. After all, who wouldn't want to ride a Drake or fight a giant Balrog? I mean, sounds fun to me.
Sign me up. As God is a Geek put it, there is so much to do in Shadow of War that at first it'll overwhelm you, but the best thing to do is just enjoy it.
So that about sums it up for the reviews for Middle-earth Shadow of War. Are you planning to pick it up? Let us know in the comments.
And for all of your gaming news, be sure to like this video, and if you're new around here, subscribe to the know. You continue your story of the ranger Talion, who shares his body with the spirit of the elf lord. Okay, I'm gonna need to figure out how to pronounce that. What should have been an exciting climax let me redo that. GameSpot wrote, words are dumb, as I have always said. GameSpot wrote, what should have been an okay.